we're finally ready to start creating our finished documents. Because we have created all of our pages as parent pages, the first part's going to be quite simple. This first thing that you're going to want to do is to decide on the order that you want your planner to be, what sections you want to have. In typical planners, you're going to see the yearly and goals pages in the front, followed by monthly sections, and then usually finished up with some other sections like notes pages, passwords, contacts, etc. However, you can lay out your planner any way you want to. Maybe you have a unique idea in your head of how you want your planner to flow, and that is great too. We love unique ideas over here. Now, for digital planners, deciding on your layout can be much more complicated because you're not just thinking about the order of the pages, but you also need to think about how you want all the hyperlinks to be set up. Not to mention that there are typically a lot more sections and pages in a digital planner. So if you're looking for a little more guidance on deciding your layout of your planner, make sure you check out the previous episode, episode 17, where I show you an example digital planner to help demonstrate the possibilities. I'm not going to be going over how to decide on the order of your sections in your planner. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Basically, we've been creating them in probably an order I would normally go with, but this is totally up to you. Once you have your layout in mind, it is now time to start adding pages. And this is actually super simple. All right, so we're going to come over here to, this is our pages panel, and we want to be clicked into our actual document here. You don't want to be clicked in up here, otherwise you'll be adding parent pages. And all you're going to want to do when you add a parent page is you're just going to either hit the plus here to create a new page, and it's just going to create a new of the same one that you had there. But what you're probably going to want to do is right click and say insert pages, because this is going to give us the box here. So you're going to get this box that pops up right here, and this is how we're going to start inserting the pages we want. It just automatically is going to say one page, but since we're creating spreads, you usually want to say 2 pages to insert the whole spread. This is self-explanatory. It just says insert after page, and it's 1. It's going to automatically have this number, the page that you're selected on. So it'll automatically come up after page and then your page selection, but you can change this if you need to add it somewhere else in your document. You can also change it before, at the start, or the end of the document. But quite simply, we just say 2, and then you're going to click here to choose. These are all your parent pages. We're going to go ahead and do our year at a glance. So I click OK, and here is our year at a glance page. You can see it here in the panels, and you can see it up here. This is the one we created. If it was my planner, I wouldn't have it. These would all be the same. But now that we have our year at a glance page added, let's go ahead and let's double click here just so that it's automatically set up to send it where we want to send it to. We're going to right click, say insert. We're going to say 2 pages. And now see it says after page 3, because that's the one we're clicked on here. And then we're going to say vision and goals page. So that's what I'm adding here, our vision and goals page. So I'm going to add one more section, which is the goal planner. And I'm going to show you a different way. So let's make a note. It has to go after page 5. But let's say I was clicked up here. I'm somewhere else in the planner, but I know there's somewhere else I wanted to add sheets. You can do that also from here. When you right click and hit insert, you can just say 2, and you can just say after page 5 and change this. You don't have to be clicked down there, but since it just adds the page in automatically, it's a lot easier. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our goal page here. All right, so now I already have, if you can see here, I already have my front section. It's basically all I wanted: year at a glance, vision and goals, and then actual goals planner. Now that you know the basics of adding pages, let's move on to adding bookmarks, because this is something that I think would be much easier to do as you go. So I wanted to mention it earlier in this video. If you watched the last episode, you know I've already mentioned it. If you watch the tips and tricks, I mentioned it there as well, but we are going to mention it again. I think that it's best to do this as you're going through your sections. It just makes it easier, but if you would prefer, you can absolutely go back and add bookmarks later. Let me show you an example. So let's go ahead. We're going to start adding in some monthly sections now, because this is my year sections at the top. I want to start adding in my monthly. So I'm going to right click on the page and say insert. I'm going to say Here's what I'm going to do. I want to add a monthly dashboard. So let's say 2 for right now, and then I'll show you how to change it. And we're going to go ahead and select our monthly dashboard. Okay, so in our example, I created multiple variations to the dashboard. So I don't need 2 dashboards. And I'm going to have a divider here on the right hand side. So I just need something on this side. I don't want any part of the month on the left side. So what I like to do is just add line pages. Just picture the divider is going to be between. You have line pages here. You move the divider over, and now you have your January dashboard. I am going to change these to line pages, but I'm going to come back to this because later on in this video, I'm going to show how to apply parent pages if you want to change the parent pages applied. But typically, if you know that's what you want to do every month, I would, in our parent page here, in our monthly dashboard spread, I would just make this a lined page. And that way, and whenever you add this, it's going to automatically be there. But again, I will come back to this to show you how I can change this one page. But for now, we have our monthly dashboard here. I want to add a bookmark saying January or January dashboard or something like that because I want to mark where the month of January starts. To add a bookmark, you're going to come over to your bookmarks panel if you see it here. This is where I keep mine. If you don't see it, come up to Windows, come down to interactive, and then check bookmarks, and you can click and drag it over here if you want to add it or just use it out of the little pop-up box. But with the page selected that you want to add a bookmark in your panels, your page panels here, with it selected so it's blue, you're just going to simply come down to the plus sign and then name it what you want to name it. Just going to name it January dash, and that's it. It's as simple as that. Now I have a bookmark here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add, let's add the monthly calendar. So I'm going to say 2, and I'm going to say monthly calendar. So here I am in the monthly calendar. If I say want to get back to the beginning of January or the January dashboard, all you do is double click. So as you're adding pages to your planner, this is going to make it much simpler to jump back and forth if you need to, or to find something that you need. You can create these for whatever different sections. I just do them for the month. I don't have a whole lot at the beginning of the planner, and I won't have a whole lot at the end. So I find just doing the months is that works well for me. If you're doing daily pages, it's going to be a much bigger planner. Maybe you want to set it up a different way. If you have weeks and days, maybe you want to put each week in here. Week 1, week 2, week 3. That way you can get to that week and the daily pages quickly. It's up to you. You just want to keep in mind that the purpose of this is to make it easier to navigate. So you don't want a bookmark for every page or every small little section. Otherwise, you're going to have to start scrolling through here to find where you need to go, and it's making it kind of pointless to use it. So when you want to go back and you want to add another bookmark in here, you're going to be selected on a different page, and you're going to hit the plus to add the bookmark again. If you wanted to add it underneath this, say you have January dashboard, say you want to add your weeks in here too. We don't have any weekly pages, but I'll just use this one as an example. If you're selected in here on a bookmark and you hit plus, it's going to add it underneath. So you could close these tabs and you could say, oh, I know it's January, and then you're going to find, let's rename this week 1. Week 1, maybe we're saying, okay? If you want to add another page, another section, but you don't want to be connected, just make sure you're not clicked in here. Just be clicked on the page that you want to add a bookmark to, and then hit plus, and then it'll be a totally new bookmark. We're just going to pretend this is yearly. I think it is yearly. We'll say goals. Let's just call this goals, because I just want to show you one more thing. Now, the dashboard, I would keep these bookmarks in order of your planner. You don't have to, but I think it makes the most sense too. But let's say, oops, I added this afterwards because I forgot to add a bookmark there. But you want it to be before the dash. All you're going to do is click, hold, and drag. And you see the little line there. You're just going to drag the line to where you want to add or move the bookmark to. That's it. And then if you want to delete them, you just simply click and delete. Okay, we're just going to stick with the January dash for right now. That's really it. It's really easy to navigate. Most of it's self-explanatory, especially since you've been following along with this series. And so you've used a lot of these similar tools quite often now. The plus, the bin, the click holding and dragging. It's all pretty standard across InDesign. Okay, so now we're moving on to our next section, which is editing parent pages. There are a few ways you can do this, but really I only suggest one of them. Let's go ahead and let's add our weekend real quick, and we'll use that as an example. I mean, you do need to make changes on this calendar, but I think that will make more sense when I show you on the weekly pages. So we have the monthly calendar. We are ready. We're just going to go with horizontal 1 because that's the first one I have here. All right, so on this page, you can see there's certain things that you're going to need to update for each different week, and you'll need to update next year and for your next planner. So what you would need to update is the dates here, and you would need to update this calendar, but everything else on here is going to be the same. So one thing you can do, if we have both of these selected over here in our panel, is you can right click and you can come down to override all parent pages. And it will override everything. So right now, you can't adjust anything. Nothing is clickable. So if I override the entire page, everything can be adjusted now. I just wanted to let you know that that was there in case you came across it and you thought, okay, this might be a good idea. Let me tell you, it is really, really not. I did not know this when I first started creating planners in InDesign. Everything was a trial and error for me, and this was a big mistake that I made. I found that, I said, okay, that's how you override it. That's how I can change it. Great. I did my whole planner that way. Come to find out afterwards that once you override this entire page, any changes that you make to the parent page that it was once connected to is no longer going to show up on your overridden page. Anything you override will not update from the parent page. That's why we also use styles. So we used styles for all of this text and font and everything else. So if we wanted to change this font, we would change it in the style, right? So same thing here. We set up styles, cell styles and paragraph styles for our calendar. So anything that we change here is not going to reflect here. We would have to manually do it on every single page. Okay, since we definitely don't want to disconnect this from the parent page and we don't want to have any issues, the best thing to do to keep from having any issues is to just override the objects that you need to change, and that's it. So again, like I said, you're talking the weekdays and you're talking the calendar. So to do that, you're going to hold Command and Shift as you click, or Control and Shift if you're on a PC. So Command and Shift and then click on the item. And now you can see it's got the little box and we can edit it. So you can even just do that, hold down Command and Shift and just click on each thing that you want to override, and then you can go ahead and make your changes, or you could do one by one. That's fine too. So now you can come in here and we're going to say this is supposed to be the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th. All right, and that's how you're going to go about changing your dates, and then we can change this calendar as well. That's how you can and should override certain objects. That's going to bring us into duplicating pages. You can absolutely add more pages for the weeks of this month by the way we added them before. You can either, if that's the last thing you added, you should be able to just hit plus, and then it will twice to add the whole spread, and then it will add them, and you can keep doing that for the spread you want. You can also right click, say insert pages. You can add here, if you know you need 4 weeks, there's 2 pages in a spread, so you would add 8 pages of our vertical one after page 13, and it will add all the weeks that way. That's super quick and easy. But I'm just going to show you what I like to do, and mainly because in my planners, I have certain colors that are for each month. So rather than going and changing those colors for every single page, I create the first page of the week and then I duplicate this page and then I go back and change the dates. If you've overridden all of these, you won't have to override them again when you duplicate the page. So not that that takes a whole long time. I mean, it took like 2 seconds, but you don't have to. So you can set this up. You can change the calendar because each month is going to have a different calendar here. You can change your dates or whatever it is you need to change your color, and then you can just duplicate this page. So to do that, you can do that in 2 different ways. The first way, with both of these selected, you can hold Option or Alt, like you do when you're copying in the document. Click, hold, and drag this over to the right, and you're going to get a little line. You have to have it right in the exact spot. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little line there. Once you see that line, just release, and it will make the copy right below it. Other thing you can do is right-click and come to Duplicate Spread, and it will duplicate it. And you can do that as well. All right, so now when we go to each week, those are already overridden. You will have already created the new calendar for this way, and you won't have to create it. And then when you get to the next month, you would go ahead, add your parent, make all the changes you need to do, and then just duplicate it for however many weeks you need. That's the way I prefer to do it. But again, it's going to depend on what you have going on for your planner. Another reason you might think to do it this way is if, let's say, you have something in the background. Let's say each month you're going to have a different flower that's going to be in the background, or on the bottom here or something like that. You can add your graphics, duplicate the page so it's there. Or the other thing you can do, which is honestly probably what I suggest, but you don't have to. But the other option obviously is to create a parent page for each month so that you have those 12 backgrounds. But you can do it this way as well. I'm just giving you another option. So let's say you have dailies in here. You could also insert in between. So like, let's say you added all your weeks and if you have weeks and dailies and you say, okay, I'm coming to the week 1 and I need to add 7 daily pages. Just come up to the page, be selected on that week page, right click, insert, and then insert your 7 daily pages. And then make sure you're after 13 and hit OK, and it will insert them in between. So you can do that as well. Just keep in mind, if you're adding weeks and dailies, make sure that you always have an even number of pages in each section, right? So if you have a week and then you have 7 daily pages, individual pages. Some people will do the weekend days on 1 page and then you only have 6 pages, and that works out beautifully. But if you have 7 daily pages you're adding with the weeks, then you need to add an extra page. If you have an odd number of pages, it's going to shift everything, and then things are not going to be on the correct side in the next section. So like your weekly calendar, you could end up with this one on the back side of this page. Like, so you would have this on the front of the page and that on the back of the page, because it's going to shift everything. So you don't want to do that. You always want to make sure you keep your sections even numbers. If that means adding in extra notes pages, then that's fine. If you're only doing dailies, same thing's going to apply. You can add all your dailies back to back to back, but in a month where you have 31 days, you're going to have an odd number. You need to add an extra page somewhere. So add a notes page or something like that. Make sure it's even. Just keep that in mind, because I don't want you to go through adding these pages and then get to the end and be like, why is everything off? Because that could be why. So just keep everything even, and then you should be good to go. So let's move on to the next section, which is moving, deleting, and changing applied parents. To move a page, you're going to click, hold, and drag in the panel. So make sure you have the whole spread selected, unless for some reason you need to only move 1 page, but you run the risk of messing up your whole document. So be careful with that, but you're going to have both selected. You're going to click, hold, and drag it down until you get that line, and drag it after the page that you want this to go after. So if I'm holding on to the monthly calendar, let's drag it to the end of the document. I'm going to wait. Make sure you see that line before you let go. If you do it here, it's not going to work. So you see the line, let go. So now it's moved our month to the bottom of the document. If you're moving things far, that could be a little difficult. So the easier thing to do, let's see, where do we want this to go? We want this to go after the dashboard. Dashboard is page 9. So what you would do again is select both. We're going to right click and we're going to say move pages. And then we're going to say we want to move the pages after page 9. Okay, and then it's going to be back up here behind the dashboard where we need it to be. So those are the two ways that you can move pages. Deleting pages really is pretty self-explanatory. Just click on the page here and click on the bin to delete it. Just note to avoid deleting single pages because, again, it's going to shuffle them. So if I want to delete this entire week here, this entire spread, just have them both selected and then hit delete and then just say okay. You can right click and do it too, but I don't really, you don't really need to, but you can. But you could just click on this button here, just make sure it's selected. Now, changing parent pages. This is what I had said before that I will jump back to. Let's go back to our dashboard here where we added this. And I want this one to be lines pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have only this one selected, the page selected here that I want to change. And this could, if you add a document, a page, and it was the wrong parent page, then this is what you would want to do. If it was the whole spread, you would want both selected. But in this case, we're just doing the left page. I'm going to right click and I'm going to come down to apply parent pages. Apply parent pages. And now here it says page 8, that's the only one selected, and we're just going to apply the page that we want to apply to it. I want to change this to a line page, so I'm going to say okay, and it's just going to change that one page there. And it's applied it's applied the right page, but you just want to make sure the margins are right, but it automatically did that. And that's it. That's all you need to do. If I said, I added a weekly, but I was supposed to add a daily here, then you could delete it and then re-add it, or you can just right click, apply parent page, and then change this to wherever my daily pages are, daily 1. And now, I overrode all those. That whole page is overridden. If you see something weird like this, because this has happened to me before, I've applied the new parent page, but because all these other items we had overridden them, they're not going to disappear. So you just basically, if you need to get rid of them, just delete them. And now they're gone. But that's one of the funky things that happens when you override the whole page. That's why I do not like to do that. Okay, now you should be ready to start adding all your pages. Don't forget to add your bookmarks as you go. Also, you can change the dates on the calendars and the weekdays and so on and so forth as you go, or you can go back and you can do them all later. It's entirely up to you. Just remember, paste and place is your best friend. So if you want to add all of your sections first to make sure the layout is the way you want before going and changing anything, that's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to show you this as an example because I didn't show you in this video. So just in case you didn't see this in the other videos, let's go ahead and add these 8 sections. So I'm going to come back up here. We're going to change this calendar. I'm not going to change dates. Let's just use the calendar as an example. I really didn't need to override those. So paste in place. If I went and changed all these dates and I made this February because we're in February now. Now all the other ones I added have January. All you're going to do is come up here, select the whole calendar, Command C or Control C to copy. You're going to come down to the next one, Command and Shift and click to override. Then just go ahead and delete it. And now we're going to say Edit, Paste in Place. And it's going to paste that calendar exactly where you need it to be. And you can just do the same thing here, Edit, Paste in Place. Okay, there is a shortcut for it. So if this is something you're going to do, then I would definitely memorize that shortcut. And that way you don't have to keep going up here. And that's it. So you can go through really quickly and change. You're only creating the calendar one time and then you're just copying and pasting it. So that will make it a lot quicker. Obviously, that's unnecessary to do for the weekdays because the only thing you're changing is the dates and those are going to be different for each week. So go ahead and leave those as is. Just wanted to mention that. Now go ahead and actually let me mention one more thing. Let me mention one more thing before I let you go and make your planner and before we jump into exporting. I wanted to mention that there's not really an easy way to automatically update and add the dates. Okay, I have a video on how to automatically add dates, which I'll link in the description below. However, it is pretty complicated. So if you have a daily planner, it's definitely something that can benefit you for sure. It'll benefit you when you go to update the dates next time because you're just going to update the spreadsheet that you create, and you connect it to InDesign. But it can be a little bit tricky, mostly with the formatting and things like that. It can be a little bit of a pain. My honest opinion is if you have a weekly planner like this, I don't think it's worth it. It really honestly does not take very long to update all of the dates. Again, you have paste in place. When you override these as you're coming through, it takes a couple seconds, but like once you're clicked in one of these text boxes, you don't need to double click on these. But if you double click on the number, it's going to automatically highlight the number. One's a little tricky. So then when you do that, you're just double click on the number and then you just type the next number. So what I'm saying to you is it really doesn't take that long. And there's, 52 weeks. It's not terrible. It's going to take so long to create the spreadsheet and import it and make sure the formatting's set up right. I don't think it's worth it unless you're doing daily pages. Also to mention, technically you could do daily and weekly at the same time, but again, it's more complicated. So if you have both, I would suggest maybe watching that video and following it for the days, but maybe just leave the weeks off and do that manually. Because again, if it doesn't work properly, you now have to go back and figure out why it didn't work properly. And you're going to waste more time than if you just changed it. But that's just my opinion on the matter. I know a lot of people like the automatic dates. That is a pretty popular video of mine. So if that's something you think you want to check out and try to do, go ahead and check out the link in the description. But it can be tricky. And people do ask me questions about it. I try to answer them, but sometimes they're just not that easy to answer unless I'm seeing what they're looking at. I can't really troubleshoot without seeing. So you're kind of going to be on your own. In that aspect, but go ahead and check it out if you want. And with that being said, you are now ready to put all your pages into your planner. So pause the video, add all your pages into the planner, or just keep watching where I'm about to show you how to export, and then you can go back and do the planner after that. So let's move on to exporting. So now that you have your document ready to go, we are ready to export. So first I'm going to talk about printable and printed. So printable and printed. And this is other than hardbound printing, okay? So if you're printing and it's going to get hole punched for a 3-ring binder or an A5 binder, or if you're going to be using a wire coil or wire binding of some kind. So anything other than hardbound. And then printed, which your customer would be printing at home. Printable, which your customer would be printing at home. It's really, really simple, okay? All you're going to do is go, once you're ready, to File, and you're going to go down to Export, and then you're going to get this box. What you want to choose is Adobe for print, Adobe PDF, or PDF if you don't have Adobe on your computer. What you want a PDF for print. You're going to choose your location. You're going to choose the name of your file, and you're going to hit save, and then you're going to get this box. And from here, you're just going to choose the quality. I just do it on high quality print. You're going to choose all pages unless you only want to be exporting a certain range, and then you can do the range. I suggest exporting as pages, not as spreads. Otherwise, it's going to try to print those spreads on one page, which you don't want. You want each individual page. And that's how you're going to export the actual PDF. The other option you have here too is to print crop marks or not. If you're selling a printable and it's a smaller than letter size, then you may want to go ahead, say it's A5 or 7x9 or something else like that, and the customer is going to need to print paper down, a page down. You might want to include crop marks. That's going to give marks where the edge of the paper and the customer is supposed to be cutting to guide them. But that's up to you. If you want to add that, that's for printable. You don't need that if you're printing yourself, really, but you could do that to guide yourself as well. All right, and that actually brings me into, if you are printing it yourself, you don't actually have to export it as a PDF. You can, and then print from the PDF, that's fine. But I usually just print right from InDesign. So you can come down here and you can go to print, and you can choose your printer, and you can choose all the setup here. You see here, this is showing in the corner. You want to make sure that this is centered, or you're going to have an issue with front and back printing. So just come to setup and then come down here to centered. Once you save it, it should come up that way automatically next time. But make sure you look at that little preview and see if it looks right. You want it centered. And then I never print from here. You could, but I don't. I always bring up my printer dialog box or printer settings. And then you would print from here because you want to make sure you're printing double-sided. And you want to just make sure that your printer is set up for the quality print that you want. I would definitely come down to your quality and make sure that you're printing on high quality or best quality, and choose what kind of paper you're printing on, and just make sure your settings are good. I wouldn't print from the InDesign box myself, but then once you hit print, it will go ahead and close it, and then you'll hit print again. All right, so pretty simple hardbound. Now hardbound's a little more difficult. Let me first start with saying that if you're sending this to a printer, somebody that's going to be making the hardbound for you, the hardbound cover for you, you shouldn't need to worry about it. You're probably going to just send them a PDF, but check with them. Maybe they want the actual InDesign file, or maybe they want some other format. But I would always check with the printer. But I had gotten a question from somebody wanting to know, how do I do the dates and how do I set up, my planner if I need it to be hardbound because of the way the order that it prints in. You'll see what I mean in a second. You don't need to do anything special when you're designing. Just design it the way you want the book to be. This is the front of one page. This is the back of the next page. Front and back, and that's the way you're going to design it. If you're printing it at home, you're going to print it as a booklet. So come up to File and come down to Booklet, and I will show you what I mean. Ignore this. It's because this paper is bigger than paper I have set up on my printer that my printer can do, so it's giving me an error. So what you want to do here is you want to come down to booklet type, and you want to choose perfect bound, and then you're going to choose your signature size. This is 4 pages, which is actually one sheet, because we have, if it's being bound, this is basically your binding. So this would print as one big piece of paper so that you can fold it in half and it could be bound with the other pages. So when you have 4 pages, it's technically one sheet of paper. You have 1, 2, and then on the back, you have 2 on the back. So it's one sheet of paper. So you need to decide what size signature you want to be. I think that's totally up to you. It depends on your paper thickness. It depends on what you like and how you're trying to bind it. But you'll have to figure that out. But basically what I wanted to show you here is how it works. So it's saying page 1 is being printed on the right side of the page. Page 16 is being printed on the left. So that when you fold this piece of paper in half, this is on the front and 16 is the last page of this section. That's on the back. Right? So when you move to the next one, you're going to have 2 and 15, which are the other sides of that piece of paper. So I hope that makes sense. That's how you print the booklet. You design it the way you would normally design it, and it's when you're exporting it and printing it that it's going to, the system is going to automatically adjust it to what it needs to do to print. But again, if you're sending it to a printer, you wouldn't do this. They're going to do it with their system. So there shouldn't be anything else you have to do. But that's what you're going to do if you're printing it at home. Now, lastly, digital planners. This is the easiest because all you need to do is export it as a PDF. But it's going to be a little bit different. So come up to File and come down to Export. And you're going to change this to an interactive PDF. That's what's going to store the information for all your hyperlinks. If you did it as print, like we did with the other, none of those hyperlinks would be there. So it wouldn't actually work. So all you need to do is export it as interactive. There's some other settings in here you can check and play with, but I think you should be good to just send it the way it is. With a digital planner, you're gonna have it as pages. You're never gonna have spreads for digital planner. I pretty much just leave the settings as they are. So all the pages and as pages, and that's basically it. But you can go through here and see if there's anything that you think you can require a password to open it, but if you're selling it, I really don't think you should be doing that. But that's it as far as exporting. It's very straightforward, really pretty simple. Aside from the hardbound, if you're printing that one. That's the most complicated, and even then I don't think it's really that. Just always print some examples, some samples first before you print your whole planner, just to make sure it is the way you need it to be, lined up where you need it to be. But that's it. So you're finally done with your planner now. How excited, right? I do have 2 bonus videos in this series coming out over the next 2 weeks. I will be going back down to 1 video per week, at least for the holiday season, because things are starting to get a little crazy. And then we'll see from there. But the next video will be about updating and making changes to your planners and how you can create variations to your planners to create new planners. So I've been saying since the beginning, one great thing about InDesign is when you set everything up properly, it's going to benefit you down the road when you need to update it and change it and create variations. So I'm going to show you how you can actually do that. And then the last video is going to be for those thinking about making physical planners themselves. So I will be showing how you can make some covers. I will show both hardbound cover like on a chipboard, and I will also show a laminated cover, which is what my regular planners come in. And I will also be showing you how you can make some professional looking dividers. Now, I'm going to tell you that I think that this is a huge thing, because anybody who has tried to make planners might be able to tell you trying to find somebody to make dividers for you at a reasonable price is almost impossible, I think. I mean, you might be able to get them from China for fairly cheap, but you're going to have to order them in large quantities. So if you're planning on making planners at home, maybe you make a few at a time and keep some in stock, or maybe you're just making them to order. I haven't found a lot of resources for making dividers. I had to figure it out by myself through trial and error. So I'm going to show you how I do it. If any of you have a better way of doing it than I do, I would love and really appreciate hearing it. But I'm going to show you that. So those are my tricks. I am showing you how to compete with me on planners, because I'm crazy, I guess. I just want to thank you guys for watching along throughout this series. I really appreciate it. I hope that you now have a wonderful planner that you can be proud of and that you make lots and lots of money on. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Good luck.